Every line on the hologram pulsed softly, showing energy flows beneath the planet's crust. His team had spent months preparing for this mission, and finally, he had the chance to set foot on the surface of a world untouched by human hands. The planet below shimmered in shades of deep blue and violet, like a jewel suspended in the endless black of space. It was beautiful, mysterious, and possibly dangerous. Stepping into the landing shuttle, Ethan felt the familiar excitement and nervousness swirl in his chest. He glanced at the instruments, checking oxygen levels, pressure, and navigation controls. Everything seemed normal, yet a strange thrill ran through him, as if the planet itself was calling him. The shuttle descended through thick clouds, and with every passing moment, the terrain grew more alien. Towering crystal formations jutted from the surface like frozen lightning, their edges catching the sunlight and scattering rainbow-colored reflections across the landscape. When the shuttle touched down, Ethan could feel the vibrations beneath his feet. He opened the hatch and took the first step onto Lyra 9's surface. The air was thin but breathable, tinged with an unfamiliar scent that reminded him of minerals and something faintly sweet, like a distant memory. He inhaled deeply, savoring the sensation of being on a new world, a place that had never known humans before. He began walking toward a large cave system marked on the map. The crystals here were enormous, their surfaces smooth and translucent. As he ran his gloved hand along one of the towering formations, he felt a subtle vibration. A pulse of energy seemed to travel through him, but he shook it off, attributing it to static or the planet's unusual magnetic field. He had learned to stay calm in strange environments. Panic could be deadly. As Ethan explored deeper, the cave widened into a grand chamber. The walls sparkled with veins of energy crystals, casting shifting colors across the ground. It was silent, except for the faint hum of the crystals, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Suddenly, a light flickered in the distance. At first he thought it was a reflection of the crystals, but as he approached, the glow took shape, subtle, radiant, and moving. Ethan froze. Before him floated a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. She was humanoid but ethereal, her skin luminescent and her hair flowing like liquid silver. Her eyes shone with a calm, knowing light. She did not speak at first, yet Ethan somehow understood her presence. A strange warmth spread through him, a feeling of safety and recognition, as if he had known her for a lifetime he could not remember. Finally, her voice, soft and melodic, reached him, not through sound but through a gentle whisper in his mind. "Ethan Vale," she said. "You were expected." Ethan stumbled back slightly, his heart racing. Who are you?" he asked aloud, though part of him feared the answer. "I am Seraphine," she replied, her words flowing like music. "I am the princess of this world, Lyra 9. You are not like the others, human. You carry a strength we have long sought." He swallowed hard. "Strength? I'm just an explorer, a scientist." Her gaze did not waver. "Strength is not always measured in tools or knowledge. It is measured in courage, in choices, and in the willingness to protect and understand. You have been chosen, Ethan." Before he could respond, she lifted a hand, and her voice became an even softer whisper. "Listen closely. Accept what I offer and you will be invincible." Ethan felt a sudden pull, as though invisible threads were wrapping around his being. Energy surged through his body, starting from his chest and radiating outward. His vision sharpened, his thoughts accelerated, and his muscles felt alive with a power he had never known. It was overwhelming yet exhilarating. He fell to his knees, gasping as he realized that every fear, every doubt seemed to dissipate. "Do you understand?" Seraphine's voice flowed through his mind again. "This is not just power, it is responsibility. It will change you, but only if you remain true to yourself." I think so," Ethan managed to whisper, though his voice sounded small against the vastness of the chamber. "Good," she said, a soft smile touching her lips. "Your journey begins now. Learn, explore, protect, and inspire. Humanity has potential beyond what you know. As her glow dimmed, the chamber seemed brighter, clearer. Ethan stood slowly, testing his new abilities. He lifted a jagged crystal effortlessly, noting the strength in his arms, and moved across the cavern without effort. He felt no fatigue, no strain. It was not just physical. His mind seemed to analyze patterns instinctively. He could predict where crystals might be unstable, detect the faintest vibrations in the ground, and even sense subtle shifts in the air. For hours, he explored the caves, marveling at the alien formations and the strange life forms that peeked from hidden crevices. Lyra 9 was alive in ways he had never imagined. He realized that Seraphine's command had connected him to the planet itself, or perhaps to something greater, the universal energy that flowed through every living being. As the sun of Lyra 9 began to set, casting long shadows across the crystalline landscape, Ethan noticed movement near the cave's entrance. Figures emerged from the fading light, other explorers or perhaps scavengers. They were cautious, observing him from a distance. Normally, their curiosity might have alarmed him, but with his new senses, he felt no threat. He could detect intentions, read body language, and sense hesitation. He stepped forward confidently, and the strangers hesitated before lowering their instruments. One of them spoke. Who are you?" The voice trembled. "I am Ethan Vale," he replied calmly. "I am here to learn, not to harm." The group exchanged glances. Some seemed skeptical, but others were drawn to his calm presence as if something in him reassured them. Ethan realized that his invincibility was not just physical, it radiated outward, influencing those around him. Night fell on Lyra 9, and the alien crystals glowed softly, illuminating the landscape like a dream. Ethan found a high ridge and sat, looking out at the vastness of the world. He thought about Seraphine's words. Humanity had potential beyond what he had imagined. He felt a connection not just to this planet but to the stars themselves. There was a sense of purpose stirring deep within him, a feeling that he had been brought here for something greater than exploration. As he sat in quiet contemplation, Seraphine appeared once more, her form shimmering in the starlight. She did not speak at first, simply observing him. Then in that familiar soft whisper she said, "You will face challenges, Ethan. Others will seek to control or test you. Remember, true strength lies not in dominance but in choice, courage, and compassion. Hold fast to these and you will never fail." Ethan nodded, even though she could not see him. Her presence filled him with reassurance and a quiet determination. He realized that he was no longer just a human on an alien planet. He was a bridge between two worlds, capable of achieving feats no one had yet imagined. The night passed, and with dawn, the world of Lyra 9 seemed to awaken in new ways. The crystals shimmered brighter, the air thrummed with subtle energy, and Ethan felt an unbreakable connection to everything around him. He began to walk toward the outer caves, eager to explore, to learn, and to test the limits of what Seraphine had given him. He climbed over jagged formations, leapt across chasms that would have been impossible for a normal human, and moved with a grace and speed that amazed even himself. With each step, he felt a growing awareness, not arrogance but clarity. He began to see patterns in the crystals, in the terrain, even in the faint trails left by alien creatures. It was as if the planet itself was teaching him, guiding him, preparing him for challenges yet unseen. Hours turned into a full day of exploration. Ethan discovered bioluminescent flora, strange underground rivers, and caverns that seemed to stretch endlessly. Every discovery reminded him of Seraphine's words. He was chosen not just to survive, but to understand, to grow, and to inspire. Toward the end of the day, he encountered an enormous chasm blocking his path. Normally, such a gap would require careful planning or equipment, but with a deep breath he focused. The energy within him, awakened by Seraphine, surged forward. With effortless motion, he leapt across the chasm, landing safely on the other side. For a brief moment, he hovered there, looking back at the vast expanse he had crossed, feeling invincible in a way that was both exhilarating and humbling. As night fell again, he returned to his temporary camp, exhausted but filled with a sense of purpose. He knew that this was only the beginning. Seraphine had given him power, yes, but more importantly, she had given him a responsibility to explore, to protect, and to lead. Humanity's potential was vast, and he was now the first to step into a future where humans could rise beyond their limits. And somewhere, deep in the crystal-lit night, Seraphine watched, her soft whisper lingering in his mind, a promise of challenges, growth, and an extraordinary journey yet to come. Ethan Vale woke to the soft glow of Lyra Nine's twin suns filtering through the crystalline walls of his temporary camp. The energy from Seraphine's command still hummed inside him, steady and calm, but his mind buzzed with anticipation. Today, he thought, he would venture deeper into the planet, into the unexplored territories that shimmered like a hidden labyrinth beneath the surface. Every step he took on Lyra 9 reminded him that he was no longer bound by ordinary human limitations. Even the rough terrain felt smooth under his feet, as though the planet itself acknowledged his presence. He packed a few essential tools, though they felt almost unnecessary now. His invincibility extended not only to his body but to his senses. He could sense the smallest vibrations in the ground, the faintest shifts in the air, and even subtle changes in temperature. It was like a connection with the world itself had awakened inside him, a bond he did not fully understand but instinctively trusted. As he stepped out of his camp, the air carried a fresh, mineral scent, mixed with something faintly floral, as though the planet had its own unique perfume. Moving through the crystalline landscape, he discovered an intricate network of natural bridges and tunnels formed over millennia. Light passed through the translucent crystals in shifting patterns, casting prismatic reflections across the walls and ceiling. Ethan paused to examine one of the larger formations, marveling at its perfect symmetry. He realized that the planet was not only alive but intelligent in its own way, responding to his presence with subtle pulses of energy that guided his path. Hours into his exploration, Ethan noticed movement in the shadows. Small creatures, translucent and delicate, darted across the cave walls. They appeared harmless, curious even, observing him with luminous eyes. Ethan smiled, kneeling to extend a hand. One of the creatures approached cautiously, brushing against his glove before darting away. It was the first sign that Lyra 9's life was not just spectacular in appearance, but also intelligent in behavior. Each creature seemed to communicate with a quiet understanding, moving with patterns that hinted at a collective awareness. As he ventured deeper, Ethan came upon an underground river, its waters glowing faintly with bioluminescence. He could see the flow of energy beneath the surface, almost like veins of light moving through the planet. Leaning close, he dipped his hand into the water. Instead of feeling cold or wet, the liquid seemed to merge with his own energy, amplifying the hum that had been present since Seraphine's command. A sudden realization struck him. This planet, these crystals, the rivers, they were part of a network, a living system that connected everything in ways humans had yet to understand. Ethan spent hours navigating this labyrinth of tunnels and rivers, his curiosity insatiable. Each new chamber brought wonders beyond imagination. Glowing fungi that floated like tiny lanterns, crystalline formations that seemed to sing when touched, and chambers filled with strange, weightless orbs that hovered in midair. The deeper he went, the more he sensed that the planet was testing him, presenting challenges that required not brute strength but awareness and wisdom. At one point, he reached a vast cavern that opened into a vertical chasm stretching downwards into darkness. He peered over the edge, noting a faint light far below. Something tugged at him, not fear but a sense of duty. He could leap the distance, his invincibility allowing him to descend safely, yet he hesitated. He remembered Seraphine's words. True strength was not in dominance but in choice, courage, and compassion. With careful observation, he discovered a series of natural ledges and energy flows that acted like invisible stairways. Using his abilities, he descended gradually, guided by the planet's subtle cues. When he reached the bottom, he found himself in a chamber filled with alien machinery. It was ancient, yet remarkably sophisticated, with panels that responded to touch and surfaces that glowed with soft pulses of energy. Ethan realized that the planet had once been home to an advanced civilization, one that had long disappeared. The machinery seemed dormant, but his presence activated small signals, lights flickering and moving like whispers of the past. Curiosity piqued. He explored further, observing symbols etched into the walls. They were unlike any human writing, intricate and flowing, but somehow familiar. A sense of recognition stirred in him, though he could not explain why. As he traced the patterns with his hand, a soft voice echoed, not through sound but through thought. "You are learning, Ethan. Understanding comes with patience and respect." Ethan froze, recognizing the voice immediately. It was Seraphine guiding him again. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly with awe. "This was once a center of knowledge," she replied. "The energy here flows through all life on Lyra 9. Few outsiders have ever reached it and none have ever understood it fully. You are different. You can." He moved carefully among the machinery, experimenting with levers, panels, and crystalline interfaces. Lights danced across the chamber as the energy responded to his touch, not passively but interactively, as if the planet itself acknowledged his presence. He realized that his abilities allowed him to communicate with the environment directly, to sense what actions would harmonize with the energy flows. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Ethan was completely absorbed in the exploration, discovering connections between the crystals, the energy rivers, and the ancient machinery. Every discovery confirmed what Seraphine had hinted at. Humans had untapped potential that even advanced alien civilizations might have overlooked. Suddenly, the chamber vibrated gently. Ethan stepped back instinctively, but there was no danger. Instead, a holographic figure appeared, a projection of an alien scholar, transparent yet vivid. It extended a hand in greeting. Ethan could understand the message without words. It conveyed information directly, showing him diagrams of energy flows, planetary structures, and mechanisms that harmonized with living beings. The experience was overwhelming but exhilarating. Ethan realized that he was not merely exploring. He was learning at a pace far beyond any normal human capacity. His mind processed complex patterns effortlessly, understanding relationships between energy, matter, and life itself. He felt connected to the entire planet in a way that went beyond physical presence. A sudden alert in his mind drew him to a nearby tunnel. Energy readings spiked, indicating movement or activity. He advanced cautiously, using his enhanced senses to detect the source. Emerging into a larger chamber, he found a group of alien scientists trapped under a fallen crystal structure. Normally, this would have been a perilous rescue, but Ethan lifted the massive formations effortlessly, setting the creatures free. They looked at him with awe and gratitude, their expressions a mixture of relief and disbelief. Ethan realized that his powers were not meant for dominance or fame. They were tools to help, to protect, and to inspire. The creatures communicated their thanks with gestures and harmonic sounds that resonated with the energy in the chamber. He felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that his presence had made a difference, even here, in a world far from Earth. Seraphine appeared once more, her glow soft and reassuring. "You see, Ethan," she whispered, "true invincibility is more than strength. It is wisdom, courage, and compassion combined. Every choice you make shapes the path of humanity and beyond." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling comfortably upon him. He realized that his journey was no longer about exploration alone. It was about understanding, guiding, and connecting. Lyra 9 was a test, a lesson, and a promise. As night approached, Ethan found a high ledge overlooking the glowing river below. The entire cavern pulsed with soft energy, creating patterns that danced across the walls like living art. He marveled at the beauty, at the harmony, and at the potential that lay within himself. He realized that humans, with their creativity, adaptability, and courage, could achieve things even the most advanced civilizations might not imagine. From his vantage point, he could sense faint movements in distant tunnels. Some were creatures, some perhaps other explorers, but none seemed hostile. Even so, Ethan remained vigilant. His abilities did not make him careless. Instead, they heightened his awareness, teaching him patience, foresight, and the importance of observation. Hours passed. He experimented with controlling his energy, learning to move silently, to sense vibrations from far away, and even to manipulate small crystal structures. Every skill he mastered reinforced the lesson Seraphine had imparted. Power was meaningful only when guided by understanding and purpose. Eventually, he returned to his camp, weary but filled with a profound sense of accomplishment. The stars shone above the crystalline ridges, reflecting in the faintly glowing rivers and tunnels below. Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. Lyra 9 held secrets he had yet to uncover, challenges he had yet to face, and lessons that would shape not just him, but the destiny of humans among the stars. As he lay under the alien sky, Seraphine's voice lingered softly in his mind. Humanity's potential is vast, Ethan. You are the first to awaken it here, but many will follow. Lead wisely, act with courage, and remember that strength without wisdom is nothing. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling the hum of energy within him, a constant reminder of the connection he now shared with Lyra 9. Tomorrow he would explore further, test his abilities, and continue learning. But tonight he allowed himself a rare moment of peace, knowing that his journey had already begun and that the stars themselves were waiting for him to rise. Ethan Vale had spent days exploring the wonders of Lyra 9, yet the deeper he went, the more he realized that the planet was not just beautiful, it was full of challenges meant to test him. He had learned to harness his strength, his speed, and his senses, but Seraphine's soft whispers reminded him that true invincibility required more than power. It demanded wisdom, courage, and the ability to make choices that could affect not only his life, but the lives of others. On this day, as he moved through a narrow canyon lined with glowing crystal walls, Ethan noticed subtle vibrations under his feet. They were irregular, sharper than the usual pulses of energy from the planet. He paused and focused, allowing his senses to expand. Far ahead, he detected movement, not of animals but of intelligent beings. They were observing him, cautious yet deliberate in their approach. He knew instantly that they were not native to this area. As the figures emerged from the shadows, Ethan could see their unusual features. Tall and thin, with shimmering skin that reflected the light of the crystals, they carried devices that emitted soft hums. Their expressions were serious, almost tense, but they did not attack. Instead, they spoke in a language that Ethan could not understand. Yet, through the energy Seraphine had awakened in him, he sensed their intentions. They were curious, perhaps cautious, and certainly interested in him, not just as a human but as a being of remarkable ability. Ethan stepped forward, projecting calm and neutrality. "I mean no harm," he said aloud, though he knew they could feel his intent even if they did not understand the words. One of the beings raised a hand slowly, as if acknowledging him. It was clear that his presence alone was a message, a bridge between species. The group communicated through gestures and pulses of energy. Ethan could sense their curiosity and a hint of caution. They seemed to be testing him, seeing whether he was a threat or an ally. He remembered Seraphine's advice: power alone was meaningless. Patience and understanding were as important as strength. Over the course of the day, Ethan moved carefully with the group, learning their ways. They led him to a massive chamber deep beneath the canyon, filled with devices that monitored the energy flows of the planet. It was clear these beings had been studying Lyra 9 for a long time, perhaps hoping to harness its power. Yet Ethan sensed that their intentions were not entirely pure. There was ambition, curiosity, and perhaps a desire for control. He realized he faced his first real moral challenge. These beings could potentially threaten the planet or its balance if left unchecked, yet he also sensed they were capable of cooperation. He had to choose whether to confront them directly or find another way to guide them without causing conflict. He remembered Seraphine's voice in his mind: "Strength without wisdom is nothing." Ethan decided to demonstrate his abilities, not to intimidate, but to communicate. He reached out and touched one of the energy panels, and the machines responded to him. Lights flickered in patterns, pulsing in harmony with his own energy. He focused on showing balance and harmony rather than dominance, allowing the beings to see that his strength was guided by purpose, not aggression. Slowly, the tension eased. The beings observed him with fascination, and through their gestures, Ethan realized that they were learning from him. He communicated simple concepts about balance, cooperation, and respect for the planet's energy. It was a subtle but profound exchange, an unspoken dialogue of understanding. He felt the hum of the planet in response, a gentle affirmation that his choices were aligned with the greater good. As the day turned to night, Ethan continued to explore with the group, guiding them away from fragile crystal formations and teaching them to observe without disturbing the natural balance. He felt a growing sense of responsibility, not just for himself, but for the well-being of everyone on Lyra 9. Every step, every decision became a lesson in patience, foresight, and moral judgment. Then, an unexpected event tested him further. A section of the cavern began to collapse, triggered by a natural shift in the planet's energy. Rocks and crystal fragments tumbled from above, threatening to trap the group. In an instant, Ethan acted. He lifted massive pieces of debris effortlessly, shielding the smaller beings from harm. He guided them to safety, his senses predicting every movement, every potential hazard. It was a moment of intense focus and instinctual action, proving that his invincibility was more than physical. It was integrated with awareness, intelligence, and moral responsibility. After the immediate danger passed, the beings expressed gratitude in ways Ethan could not fully understand, yet he felt the sincerity of their appreciation. Seraphine's soft whisper echoed in his mind: "You have learned well. Power used wisely inspires trust and unity." The following days brought further challenges. Ethan encountered natural hazards, unstable tunnels, deep fissures, and rivers of molten crystal energy. Each obstacle required not brute force but careful observation and strategic thinking. His enhanced abilities allowed him to navigate these dangers with ease, yet he constantly reminded himself that invincibility was not about recklessness. Every choice carried consequences, and even the strongest being could falter without discipline and wisdom. During one exploration, he discovered remnants of the ancient civilization that had once thrived on Lyra 9. Strange devices and crystalline constructs hinted at a society deeply connected to the planet's energy. As he studied them, Ethan realized that the civilization had vanished not due to conflict, but because they had failed to balance ambition with respect for the world around them. It was a stark reminder that power alone was fragile without guidance, humility, and understanding, a lesson he took deeply to heart. One evening, while observing the bioluminescent rivers from a high ridge, Ethan felt a new kind of presence. It was subtle, different from the energy of the planet or the beings he had encountered. He sensed intelligence, awareness, and intent. Following the feeling, he moved through a series of tunnels until he arrived at a chamber filled with delicate crystalline structures, arranged in patterns that seemed to pulse with purpose. At the center floated a sphere of pure light, radiating energy that was both beautiful and overwhelming. He approached carefully, feeling the resonance between the sphere and his own energy. It was then that he understood. The sphere represented a test of character, a challenge not of strength, but of integrity, judgment, and empathy. He could manipulate the energy, lift crystals, and move through the chamber with ease. Yet the sphere required something more. It required understanding, harmony, and respect. Ethan spent hours observing the patterns, learning to move in sync with the energy, listening to the subtle pulses as if they were a language. Slowly, he adjusted his movements, his thoughts, and even his intentions to align with the rhythm of the sphere. Each success caused the light to glow brighter, responding not to force but to comprehension. Finally, when he acted with complete harmony, the sphere expanded, bathing the chamber in radiant energy. Ethan felt a deep connection not only with Lyra 9 but with the universe itself. Through this experience, he realized the true meaning of Seraphine's command. Invincibility was not just a gift, it was a responsibility. It was the ability to guide, to protect, and to inspire, using strength and wisdom in equal measure. It was a test of character as much as power, and in passing it, he understood that humanity's potential was far greater than anyone had imagined. The next challenge arrived unexpectedly. A sudden energy surge caused part of the cavern system to shake violently. Ethan sensed the threat immediately, his enhanced perception detecting instability in the crystal formations. The alien beings who had joined him panicked, unsure of how to respond. Without hesitation, Ethan coordinated their movements, directing them to safe zones and using his strength to stabilize the environment. He guided the energy flows subtly, preventing collapse and minimizing disruption to the planet's natural balance. When the crisis ended, the group looked at him with admiration and awe. Ethan realized that his presence had changed more than the immediate environment. It had altered their perception of humanity. For the first time, these beings saw humans not as fragile explorers but as capable, wise, and resilient partners. It was a revelation that filled him with pride and humility simultaneously. In the quiet that followed, Ethan found a moment to reflect. He understood that every challenge, every trial was shaping him, not just physically but morally and intellectually. Seraphine's whispers reminded him that this journey was about more than personal power. It was about demonstrating what humanity could achieve when guided by courage, compassion, and insight. Every choice he made was a lesson for the future, a seed planted in the hearts and minds of those who would witness it. As night fell, Ethan stood on a ridge overlooking the vast cavern network below. The bioluminescent rivers and glowing crystal formations created a tapestry of light, each pulse and shimmer, a reminder of the interconnectedness of life and energy. He felt the weight of responsibility, but it was not a burden. It was an honor, a calling, and a challenge that he embraced fully. From the shadows, Seraphine appeared, her presence serene and comforting. "You have grown, Ethan," she whispered. "You have faced tests, guided others, and demonstrated that strength guided by wisdom can inspire more than fear or dominance ever could. The path ahead will be harder, but you are ready." Ethan nodded, feeling the hum of energy within him resonate with the world around him. He realized that the true test of invincibility was not the absence of danger or struggle, but the ability to act with courage, integrity, and compassion, even when the stakes were high. Over the following days, he continued to explore, each step revealing new wonders and new lessons. He encountered additional alien species, some wary, others curious, and all were affected by his presence in subtle ways. His invincibility allowed him to mediate conflicts, protect fragile ecosystems, and demonstrate that humanity could rise above fear and instinct. Each success reinforced his understanding that Seraphine's gift was not merely about power. It was about potential, the potential of humans to rise to challenges, to think beyond limitations, and to inspire trust and cooperation across worlds. He was learning that true leadership came from wisdom, understanding, and the ability to act in harmony with both people and the environment. As he rested beneath the glowing formations one evening, Ethan reflected on all he had seen and done. Lyra 9 had taught him patience, observation, and the importance of choices guided by principle rather than impulse. The trials had tested not only his body but his mind and spirit. He understood now that his journey was not only about exploring new worlds, but about proving the limitless potential of humanity itself. Seraphine's soft voice lingered in his mind, a comforting presence amidst the alien beauty. The future is not yet written, Ethan. The choices you make, the strength you wield, and the wisdom you show will shape the destiny of your kind. Walk with courage, act with integrity, and remember that invincibility is not power alone, but the harmony of mind, body, and heart. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling the energy of Lyra 9 flowing through him, grounding him, guiding him, and preparing him for the challenges yet to come. The adventure was far from over, but he now understood that the greatest battles were not always against physical threats. They were tests of judgment, compassion, and moral courage. And in that realization, he felt truly invincible. Ethan Vale stood on the edge of the highest crystal ridge he had ever climbed, looking out over Lyra 9. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows across the shimmering landscape below. The caves, rivers, and crystal towers stretched into the distance, a living tapestry of light and energy. For days, he had explored, learned, and tested himself, guided by Seraphine's whispers. He had faced hazards, navigated alien technology, and helped beings he barely understood. Now, he sensed a challenge greater than any before him, a test that would determine not only his own limits but the potential of humanity itself. The ground beneath him trembled slightly, faint at first but growing steadily. Ethan felt it in his bones, and through the subtle vibrations Seraphine's command had taught him to notice. Somewhere deep within the planet, a storm of energy was building, pulsing in rhythms that were chaotic yet strangely intelligent. He could sense the danger, but he also sensed the opportunity. This was a moment to act, to protect, and to show that his invincibility was more than power, it was responsibility. Without hesitation, Ethan descended carefully, moving toward the source of the disturbance. His enhanced senses allowed him to navigate the twisting tunnels and unstable paths with ease. As he neared the center of the energy surge, the cavern opened into a vast chamber larger than any he had seen before. The walls were alive with pulsating light, the air vibrating with energy so intense it seemed almost alive. At the center floated a massive crystalline sphere, glowing brighter with each pulse, casting the chamber in a surreal rainbow of colors. Ethan realized immediately that the sphere was unstable. Its energy was surging uncontrollably, threatening to shatter the surrounding environment. If it erupted, it could destroy the planet's delicate balance, endangering every living creature within it. His mind raced as he calculated the risks, yet instinctively, he knew that brute force would not be enough. The solution required precision, understanding, and coordination with the planet's natural energy flows. He stepped closer, feeling the resonance between his own energy and that of the sphere. Seraphine's voice came to him, soft but urgent. "Balance, Ethan. Do not fight it. Guide it. Protect what is fragile. Your invincibility is not in destruction, but in harmony." Ethan took a deep breath and reached out with both hands, connecting with the sphere. He could feel the chaotic energy flowing into him, testing his focus, his patience, and his resolve. It was overwhelming, yet exhilarating. Slowly, he adjusted his own energy, matching it with the rhythms of the sphere. He guided the flow, redirecting its pulses into safe channels, stabilizing the surrounding crystals and structures. The task demanded every ounce of concentration and control he possessed, yet he moved with confidence, intuition, and care. Hours seemed to pass as Ethan worked tirelessly, coordinating with the natural energy of the planet. The alien beings he had helped arrived, sensing the danger and began assisting in subtle ways, guided by the patterns he demonstrated. Together, they formed a network of focus, channeling the sphere's energy without disrupting its balance. Ethan realized that leadership was not about giving orders but about inspiring others, creating harmony and acting decisively when it mattered most. The energy surge began to settle, pulsing in soft, rhythmic patterns. Ethan could feel the relief in the planet itself, a quiet acknowledgement of his success. The chamber glowed with gentle light, no longer threatening but radiant, peaceful, and harmonious. Ethan knew he had passed the ultimate test. His invincibility had not been about overpowering the energy, but about understanding, guiding, and protecting. Seraphine appeared before him, her form glowing more brightly than ever. She extended a hand, and Ethan felt her presence merge with his own for a brief moment, a connection of trust, understanding, and approval. "You have succeeded, Ethan," she whispered. "Not because of your strength alone, but because you chose wisely, acted with courage, and cared for those around you. Humanity has potential beyond what even we could imagine." Ethan lowered his hands, feeling both exhaustion and exhilaration. He had tested his limits, faced chaos, and proven that true invincibility was more than power. It was the ability to protect, inspire, and lead. For the first time, he understood the responsibility Seraphine had entrusted to him. Humans were capable of greatness, not just on their own world but among the stars, and he was a symbol of that potential. The alien beings approached, offering gestures of gratitude and respect. Some of them had once been wary, even fearful, but now they looked at him with admiration and trust. Ethan realized that his journey was not just about personal growth. It was about bridging the gap between civilizations, showing that humans could act with wisdom, compassion, and leadership. As he stepped out of the chamber, Ethan looked up at the night sky of Lyra 9. Stars twinkled above, distant suns glowing in the vast expanse. The planet felt alive in a way that transcended understanding, and he sensed countless possibilities waiting to be explored. The energy of Lyra 9, once chaotic and overwhelming, now felt like a partner, a guide, and a reminder that the universe was full of wonders meant to be respected, understood, and shared. Over the following days, Ethan helped stabilize other regions of the planet that had been affected by the energy surge. He guided the alien beings in understanding how to work with the planet rather than against it. He demonstrated techniques of cooperation, observation, and harmony that allowed even the most inexperienced among them to participate safely. His presence inspired confidence, trust, and a sense of unity that transcended species, language, and culture. Ethan also explored new areas of Lyra 9, uncovering hidden chambers, ancient structures, and bioluminescent landscapes that seemed to stretch endlessly. Each discovery reminded him that humans had the potential to achieve greatness not through domination, but through curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity. He marveled at the harmony between life and energy on this planet, and understood that such balance could be a lesson for humanity as a whole. One evening, as the twin suns rose together in a rare alignment, Ethan found himself standing at the edge of a massive cliff, overlooking a valley of shimmering crystals. The view was breathtaking, a kaleidoscope of light, color, and energy flowing in perfect patterns. He felt a profound sense of peace and accomplishment. His invincibility was no longer merely physical, it was moral, intellectual, and spiritual. He understood that power without purpose was meaningless, but when guided by wisdom, it could inspire, protect, and unite. Seraphine appeared beside him, her presence serene and radiant. "You have fulfilled the promise, Ethan," she whispered. "You have shown what it means to be invincible, not through strength alone, but through choices, compassion, and courage. Humanity's place among the stars is not just possible, it is destined. You are the first to show the way." Ethan turned to her, a mixture of awe and humility in his expression. "I don't know if I deserve this," he said softly. "It feels like there's so much more to learn." "Learning never ends," Seraphine replied with a gentle smile. "But you have taken the first steps with wisdom and heart. That is what matters. Humans can achieve greatness when guided by courage and understanding. The rest will follow." Over the next weeks, Ethan worked with the alien beings to share the knowledge he had gained. He helped them understand the principles of balance, cooperation, and harmony with the planet's energy. Together, they restored areas damaged by natural shifts or misunderstandings, ensuring that Lyra 9 thrived in stability and peace. He realized that his role was not merely as a protector, but as a teacher, a guide, and a bridge between civilizations. One day, as he rested by the glowing river, Ethan reflected on his journey. From the moment he had first heard Seraphine's whisper, his life had changed in ways he could scarcely have imagined. He had discovered abilities that surpassed human limits, yet he had also discovered the importance of choice, morality, and empathy. True invincibility was not simply being strong or fearless. It was using one's abilities to protect, guide, and uplift others. The realization filled him with a quiet joy. Humanity, he thought, was capable of far more than anyone had realized. With courage, creativity, and compassion, humans could explore, understand, and thrive among the stars. And he, as the first human to experience the full potential of Seraphine's gift, had a duty to demonstrate that potential. Seraphine appeared once more, her light soft but steady. "The time has come, Ethan," she whispered. "You are ready to return to your world. Share what you have learned. Inspire your people. Humanity's journey among the stars has only just begun." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle comfortably on his shoulders. He had been given a gift, yes, but more importantly, he had been given a purpose. He would carry the lessons of Lyra 9, the wisdom of its energy, and the guidance of Seraphine back to humanity. When he left the planet, standing once more on the observation deck of the shuttle, Ethan looked back at the glowing crystal world beneath him. He felt a connection that transcended distance, a bond that reminded him of the potential within all humans. He realized that invincibility was not about avoiding danger or conquering obstacles. It was about facing challenges with courage, making wise choices, and inspiring others through action and example. As the shuttle rose through the atmosphere, Ethan felt the energy of Lyra 9 within him, steady and calm, a reminder that he was part of something larger than himself. Seraphine's final whisper lingered in his mind, a gentle promise and a challenge. "The stars await your kind, Ethan. Lead with courage, act with wisdom, and show humanity what it means to be truly invincible." Ethan smiled, looking out at the endless expanse of space. Humanity's potential was limitless, and he would be its first messenger, showing the universe that humans could rise above limitations, not through domination, but through understanding, courage, and compassion. He felt truly ready for whatever lay ahead, knowing that invincibility was not just a gift, it was a responsibility, a journey, and a promise. As the shuttle traveled into the void, leaving Lyra 9 behind, Ethan Vale knew that the future of humanity was brighter than ever. He had faced tests, discovered power, and learned wisdom. And now, with Seraphine's guidance echoing in his mind and the stars stretching endlessly before him, he understood the truth. Humans were destined not only to survive among the stars, but to thrive, inspire, and shine as beacons of hope, courage, and unity. Ethan leaned back in his seat, a quiet determination settling over him. The universe was vast, full of wonders and challenges yet to be discovered, and humanity was ready. With wisdom as his compass, courage as his shield, and compassion as his guide, he would lead the way, proving that the human spirit, when guided by purpose and understanding, was truly invincible.